Hello everyone, welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you enjoy these deep dives into the moments that shape our favorite stars, make sure you're subscribed. Today's story is about a love tale that felt bigger than television, louder than the applause, and closer than a rumor ever should be. According to sources close to the actors, the romance between Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu reached a breaking point that none of their friends, or even their most devoted fans, were prepared to face. The night it ended left a sound that people still describe in whispers, the ring striking the table, then silence. For months, their relationship was an open secret without needing a formal announcement. They were seen together between sets, in quiet cafes, stepping out of cars with that glow couples have when the world hasn't worn them down yet. Their chemistry was the kind that reminded people why they believed in screen romances in the first place. But alongside the heat came frictions. Jealousy, long nights apart, misunderstandings that never found a good place to land. Those close to them say the tension was threaded through their days, gentle some evenings, fierce on others, until what began as a little spark of doubt grew into something impossible to ignore. When leaked messages surfaced, brief screenshots, vague hints, a few words that seemed harmless until people read into them, the fanbase fractured. Some argued the texts meant nothing, others insisted they spelled danger. Even so, hope persisted. People said they needed time. People said if anyone could come back from this, it was them. The narrative seemed to bend toward reconciliation. No one expected the finale to unfold where it did, or how. Friends arranged a private dinner at a quiet, candlelit restaurant. It wasn't a trap, it was a gentle attempt to give them a room where the noise couldn't follow, a table where apologies might be heard. The mood began warm, almost tender. There was small talk, laughter that felt rusty but real, and that aching question hanging overhead, could they find their way back? Witnesses at nearby tables noticed the hush that fell just before the moment shifted. A friend had asked a careful question about boundaries, about trust, about what felt safe. That's when Barış cleared his throat and admitted that on set he'd developed a secret friendship. One he should have been honest about. One that started innocently and, in his words, became something he couldn't defend. People present say Elçin didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry then, not in front of the room. She drew a long breath, unfastened the ring, and slid it into her palm. It was a ring that fans had spotted in pap snaps, a ring that had its own story. She stood. The table tried to breathe for her as she gently tossed it down in front of him. Not hard, just enough to make it sing against the wood. No one moved to stop her. No one called her name. The clink of the ring felt like a period at the end of a sentence she had rewritten in real time. She turned, walked out, and didn't look back. The ring mattered because of how it began. During an intense stretch of filming last season, when their days blurred into nights and they were living in scenes that asked for everything, Barış had slipped it to her off-camera, in a corridor that smelled faintly of paint and coffee. The engraving was simple, BNE, endless. It was supposed to mean they would not let the industry, the distance, or the whispers drag them apart. The sound the ring made on that table was the sound of a promise being released back into the air. Hours later, when the night had cooled into something quiet and lonely, Elçin posted a note on Instagram. It wasn't long. It didn't point fingers. But it read like a lighthouse. She wrote that sometimes love doesn't die, it just stops being enough to build on. You cannot plant a future in soil made of doubt, she added, because doubt doesn't strike like lightning, it erodes, grain by grain, until you're standing in a hollow. She said she wouldn't live where truth wasn't respected, and that no ring could define love, only honesty could. She hit post and sat with the echo. The message traveled fast. Within minutes, hearts and comments from around the world flooded her page. Colleagues sent quiet support by text, according to a friend. Fans defended her with passion and defended him with empathy, too, creating a rare corner of the internet where people understood that two truths could exist at once. Tenderness and hurt, gratitude and finality. In the days that followed, Barış retreated from the spotlight. Scheduled interviews were cancelled. Public appearances disappeared from his calendar. He stayed home, a friend says, pacing through rooms that felt too large for one person. The same source explained why he hadn't followed her out of that restaurant. He believed he had no right to touch the moment she had claimed. He feared that anything he said would strip her of the choice she had made for herself. He watched her leave, and in that stillness, he understood that sometimes love isn't lost, it's returned. He wouldn't disappear completely, though. A few days after the dinner, he posted a black and white photograph of the ring, just the ring, resting on a book with no title and frame. His caption was short, "Some mistakes can't be buried, we live with them." It wasn't a plea, or an explanation. It was an admission, and for many readers, it was the first time they believed the story was over. Behind the scenes, there were more steps taken with the kind of care that heartbreak forces upon people. Her team reached out to event organizers with a simple message: she needed time. She would be stepping back from promotions for a while, focusing on her family, on the kind of quiet that heals. Her representative said it plainly to those who asked. She needs to breathe, and to breathe, she needs room. The weight of this breakup wasn't just personal. It felt like a chapter ending in Turkish television's larger story, a partnership that had given audiences so much joy now crossing into the territory of hard truths. They were two people who held love, success, and tears in the same hands, and they discovered that trust, once cracked, doesn't repair just because everyone wants it to. For many who followed them, the image of the ring leaving her finger became more than gossip, it became a symbol. By letting it go, she seemed to be lighting a path for anyone who'd ever stayed too long in a place where their spirit had to shrink to fit. What happens after an ending is rarely cinematic. It's slow mornings. It's long showers. It's sunlight pooling on the floor while you stare at messages you aren't ready to open. Witnesses say that at dawn 2 days after the dinner, wearing a long coat and dark sunglasses, carrying a small suitcase and nothing else, Elçin slipped into a car and headed to the airport. No entourage, no pageantry. She moved like someone choosing gentleness over noise. People who saw her said she seemed calm, but you could read the exhaustion at the edges of her mouth. She had given everything she could give to save what they had, and now she was choosing to save herself. There were kind gestures in the quiet, too. Her closest friends stood guard around her, not by attacking anyone, but by refusing to let speculation trample the parts of her that were still tender. His friends reached out to him without judgment, reminding him that remorse is not a punishment but a mirror. These are the details that don't make headlines, but they matter: the late-night check-ins, the doorbells rung with soup and laughter, the playlists sent at 3 a.m., the slow return of appetite. Healing is ordinary like that, humble and human. Industry insiders felt the tremor. Producers wondered how this shift would change the energy on sets where everyone had once marveled at their timing, their instinctive way of finding each other's breath in a scene. But good professionals adapt. They know that private lives are not props, and that the heart needs what it needs. People whispered about new scripts, fresh pairings, and schedules rerouted to minimize collisions. If anything, the respect grew. No one wanted to exploit a wound. As for him, solitude settled in like a fog that hadn't decided when to lift. He stopped giving statements. He put his phone face down. He learned how loud a refrigerator hum can sound at midnight. A mutual friend described him as undone, but not undone by anger, undone by recognition, the kind that makes a person wish they had asked for help earlier, confessed sooner, reached for clarity before the storm. In more generous moments, he spoke about her in ways that felt like gratitude stitched with regret. Not to cameras, not to microphones, but to people who wouldn't turn his words into captions. He'd say she taught him that love isn't a performance, and that promises are most sacred when no one is watching. He'd say he wished the story had ended differently, had given the fans a better finale. Then he would fall quiet, because even the bravest sentences end somewhere. Her world rearranged itself, too. She focused on her parents, on her closest circle, on simple rituals, flower markets, long walks, reading scripts without the pressure to decide. She drew boundaries like lines in sand, not because she was hardened, but because she had learned what must be protected. When she finally returned to set, it would be on her terms. Until then, the city could spin without her. Fans argued in comment sections, as fans do, but many found a rare balance. They chose compassion. They thanked the story for what it gave them and accepted that even beloved pairs are allowed to end. People made art, a painting of a hand letting go of a ring, a poem about honesty, a little song uploaded at 2 a.m. titled Endless, Not Forever. Someone wrote that love can survive 1,000 storms but not an unspoken one. It felt true. The ring, meanwhile, became a relic of a promise kept as far as it could be. It wasn't buried. It wasn't pawned. It existed in the gray space between what was and what couldn't be anymore. The engraving, BNE, endless, would always mean what it meant in that corridor all those months ago, a prayer more than a guarantee. In the end, the ring's journey taught everyone what the two of them already knew: symbols are only as strong as the truth they hold. Eventually, the noise softened. Days stacked into weeks. The headlines faded into newer headlines. People moved on, as people do, but not without carrying a lesson in their pockets. The ending of this love was not a failure. It was a decision that respected reality over nostalgia. And because of that, it held a strange dignity, the kind that makes you sit a little straighter when you talk about it. If you close your eyes and listen closely, you might still hear it: the ring tapping wood, a breath caught in a throat, a door opening to the night. It's not a story about villains and saints. It's a story about two artists who once shared a rhythm and then, for reasons that make sense and still hurt, couldn't keep the beat together. And in choosing honesty, they gave something back to everyone watching: permission to choose themselves when the music changes. Thank you for spending this time with us here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets. We'll be here for whatever comes next: new projects, new beginnings, and the quiet strength it takes to start again. Until the next video, take care of yourselves, hold your truths gently, and good night.